Hello, everyone, and welcome to the pandemic edition of Community Meetings. Hope you're all doing well. Don't know if my fellow admins have joined me yet.
I am here. Hello,
Hey,
it's I, the dog dad.
what's going on, man?
Pretty good. So I guess I'll start things off and say my personal plans for what I'd like to see. Right now, I'd like to keep working on policy, especially MRP policy, since that's kind of new, and I want to get that ironed out for people. Another thing is I want to bring training or admin applications to the forums. Right now, we use a Google Doc, which kind of sucks. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think it's very effective because it's really hard to navigate. So, talk with MSO and hopefully gonna bring that to the forums, so it'll be easier.
Soon.
Yeah, soon, TM. I guess that's kind of all I had to say. Anything you want to say, Carl? Or
Not really. I mean, like I said in my thread a month or so ago, I don't really have a platform.
Mhm.
Just want to keep things as drama-free as possible and smooth moving and keep everybody having fun.
Okay, solid. Is there anything you want to say, Chwat? Or I guess we could start taking questions now.
Hello?
Okay. Well, I guess we'll start taking questions then.
Fair enough. All right, cool. Let me go through the mentions here. So, guys, please ping community meeting if you'd like to send a question over or if you'd like to get a voice roll so we can chat for a minute. Oh, here they come. Slow mode is D. That's not very helpful. Can I talk about infection revival? You have any idea what that is, Landon?
It's probably game mode. Not sure.
Pineapple on pizza is a terrible idea. I'm very disappointed to see Hulk advocating for it. Well, I don't know. Have you seen a single question yet?
Well, there's kind of talk about infection revival. What is that? Is that code? I guess I don't really know.
That falls under code, yeah.
Well, that's probably code then. Drones ever? Ooh, there's a decent question actually there. Will drones ever come back to the station? That kind of falls under policy.
Sure.
So I was. It's come to my attention that somebody's made a PR kind of recently, like I'm not sure, a few months ago, that reworks a bunch of drone stuff. I personally would like to see drones come back, but with some changes to them. If I recall, some changes would be like all items would be blacklisted, basically, and then specific items related to drones would be whitelisted. So things like tools and stuff would be whitelisted so that they could use them, but you wouldn't see like drones picking up like energy swords or anything. They also couldn't do any actions within, like, I think it was 5 tiles of people, and they would be restricted from doing things within like certain like dangerous areas like the SM or the Atmos. That way they couldn't either sabotage or interfere with a trader sabotage. So that's kind of, I don't know what the other headman's opinions are on that, but that's personally what I'd like to see done with it. Is I'd like to see that PR come through with those caveats for drones.
Yeah, I mean, it's a question of, do you limit the drones with code or with policy, right? I guess policy didn't work previously. When did we throw out drones anyway? I can't remember. It's not that long
It's
ago,
too
right?
hard to administrate, if I recall, because they were constantly breaking the rules, and
Right.
even banning them just didn't work because so many people were playing drones. Is what I recall it being. But this should fix it from a code standpoint, so we won't really need to like administrate it as much.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem experimenting with the role. If you want to try tweaking stuff, I don't have anything against it.
Let's see. Fly people may be made available from the that's code question probably. Well, are they still in the code? They might still be in the code, so that might actually be policy. Personally, I'm not going to change anything about that.
Yeah, same. Fly people are super gross. I don't understand why anybody wants them.
I played a janitor named Galorpus. That was my first character, was a fly person. But let's see.
Well, fly person janitors a pretty cool idea. Yeah.
But yeah, no plans right now to put them back as a round start race. Let's see.
Let's see here. I got 4 questions. Can I get a speaking role? Well, Cat, give us your best question first. How's that sound? You mind if I flip them on?
Yeah, that's cool.
All right. Let's see here. Where'd you go? All right, fire away, Cat Hat. Give her a shot. Jesus.
Oh, there we go.
Hey, there we go. How's it going?
I was just wondering, like, can we remove the 18 plus rule? Because, like, I don't really like it.
Very cool.
Okay.
No,
My
That'd be a fair question.
actual question though is
Okay.
what was your? I already forgot, so I just added to the fucking list. What's your opinion on dynamic on all servers? And second question is when will you unban Bindi? Third question is, fourth is we all know you can't break the rules when you're drunk, but what if we added a rule where you can ERP when you're horny?
Dumb question, but the other questions, so relating to dynamic, I really like dynamic because it kind of breaks the mold. I really hate seeing people do like the same things, like, oh, it's revs, I better go do this thing, and like go rush to grab flashes and stuff. That's kind of stupid, and I don't like that. It feels really gamey, and I think it's against the spirit of the game. So I think dynamic kind of helps fix that, and I really like that about dynamic because it throws curveballs at you, so you can't just like have a routine response to the game mode. You have to like actually use your big boy brain. So yeah, I'd like to work with it and like add it to all the servers. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily want to add dynamic as the only game mode.
Yeah, not as the only game mode.
Everything.
Yeah.
But I also understand that, like, this is my failing. I need to go back and really do better to understand how dynamic is tweaked and configured, because I know that it's possible. My concern is, like, I like secret extended. I like the paranoia. I like the idea that you don't know if this guy's just being a fuckwad or if he's a traitor, but there's no way to confirm it. So the concern is that if every round is dynamic, then that ambiguity disappears.
In my
But
experience, though, dynamic still rolls secret extended around the same amount that secret extended is rolled because of the way the dynamic works.
Yeah, the way the weighting
even
of it all
with
works.
high population.
Yeah, I'd have to see the percentages. But yeah, I know that that's possible. It just wasn't my experience in the past, but I know they've been tweaking it a lot, right? So I'm not, do we necessarily need only dynamic on every server? But I don't know.
I'd say no to that. I'd say multiple game modes is probably best, not just dynamic. I do like it though. I'd like to see it.
I just remembered too. I think Baba Brown made like a list of inactive admins. Will there be like a purge of inactive admins?
Well, there was a purge.
The second question is about admins that constantly like de-admin and re-admin, like I'm sexy. Like, is that something that should be done?
So with adminning people, if they're super inactive, I'd like to talk to them first and figure things out. I'm not gonna give you like a giant question like, yeah, we're gonna remove everybody, but we'll handle it probably by case basis. If they're not playing the game, if they're not active on the Discord, if they're literally just sitting there doing nothing, yeah, we should probably deadman them. But that's going to be mostly a case by case basis. As for people who deadman and rejoin, I don't really see the issue for it. They're still coming back. They're still adminning. It's not like they're doing something inherently wrong by leaving and coming back. It's not like it's terrible or breaking the rules. It's like it's whatever. I mean, I don't see an issue with it personally.
Yeah, I have no objections really. If people get busy, like if it's not going to be an extended thing, I don't see why people can't just take a break more often or just say that they're going to be inactive. You know, we had that on the forums where inactive can just be like, I'm not going to be around much for the next month. It's certainly less hassle, but yeah, I don't really have a problem with the revolving door.
Alright, well, that concludes all of my questions. I'm just telling the rest of the chat, when you get the speaking role, the same thing was last year, you need to exit the chat and rejoin again to actually have it work with your microphone and shit. So,
I'm gonna
okay.
disconnect you now. So,
yeah, I can do it myself, bro.
cool.
Very good, thank you. All right, let's see.
Oh, I see a
Messages
question about families. Families, I see about the same amount of suicide on a green shift and on families on events. I understand that families was made to be a high RP game mode, but events isn't a high RP server like Manuel, and most people either
Yeah.
have appreciation of it or hate it. Is there any plans on changing families? Is it on a desirable point now? What is families? I've seen generally, I would say a less than stellar response to it. I'd still like to give time to iron it out, but in the future, I think a vote might be good to like see people's impressions of it and kind of determine whether or how it's doing. I think that'd probably be best.
Yeah, it's funny we haven't talked about it, but I've got the same sort of feeling about it. Like there's a lot of effort going into it, but it does remain somewhat controversial. I think a vote would be very useful for that.
Mm-hmm. I also, some of these questions are still code questions, which I'm just going to ignore.
Yeah. Let's see here. Will we see Devil back in rotation? Pretty unlikely.
Yeah.
Pretty unlikely. Maybe, for a meme round now and again, but not in regular rotation.
Any thoughts? This is from Sir Knight Arcane. Any thoughts on having like a weekly or monthly rotation between which server is on dynamic 24/7 so that each server can get a different experience at different times? Sounds kind of neat.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it. I think I'm all right with it.
I'll think about it and we can talk about it. Kind of deal.
Yeah.
Probably on that.
I mean, the more servers we put on the hub, the less important it is to rotate those sort of things, But yeah, there's a question for you. What do you think about? So what do we have in the hub right now? We've got Basil, Terry, and everything but Sybil, right? And Manuel.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I'm all for putting. I mean, here's a question for you from me. Should we put Manuel in the hub? I think probably not, right?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think it should, because hubbies tend to be very new and tend to head towards grief and stuff, which probably is not gonna go too well for Manuel. So I'd rather keep Manuel off the hub.
Yeah, fair enough.
Let's see.
Oh, I've got him backwards. I guess Sybil is on the hub, but Basil isn't. I don't know. Basil probably doesn't need the help these days, right? It seems like its pop's been up reasonably high as of late.
All right, let's see.
Okay.
Speaking. All right. I guess we'll take a question from Swept for a question about MRP. Why not? Let's see.
Sure.
I think he should be able to talk now. Let me see.
According to the last fella, he probably has to disconnect and reconnect before he can.
He was server muted. There we go. You should be able to speak now.
All right. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
I just wanted a general question about
Mhm.
Manual. How have you guys how do you think you guys have been regarding like the whole Manual situation and MRP on TG in general? Do you feel you guys are, getting better on adminning, and do you think the general game admin and game master situation has gotten better on Manual? Or do you feel like, are there any like qualms you have with it currently?
Okay. I'll
I
talk
know,
about that.
I know it's a question within a question, but
Mhm.
That's all right.
That's all right. So with Manuel, I think a lot of the early stuff was people were confused about, what is MRP, what are we doing? A lot of that I think is going to be fixed by us setting policy, which is why I earlier stated that I do want to get working on MRP policy and get stuff ironed out. Like one of the big things that I worked with the other headmans on was who can murder bone, because a lot of people were confused about who could and couldn't. And honestly, some people were saying murder bone was always not in MRP, which I disagree with, because things like nuke ops and whatnot, they're massive threats to the station. That's what their role is. That's role play. That's what their job is. So I didn't have an issue with that. Going forward with let's see. What else was there to your question again? Did that kind of
was
answer it?
just-
Or
How are we handling
Uh,
it generally?
I'm just wondering, like, are you guys preparing like new training documentation for your game admins, or do you think your game admins are like handling the current server well?
I think they can learn it well enough. It's just the main thing is the policy, probably. I mean, they
I
still
know
ask
when
questions.
when we first started Manuel under the last administration, there was a strong desire to kind of let the boundaries of MRP establish themselves.
Mhm.
We didn't want to be too heavy-handed. Kind of let things develop organically, which has led to some pretty natural confusion about what's appropriate and what's not. I think we're probably like you were saying, Len, we're kind of at a point where we have a better idea and we can probably start to define these things a little more
One of the big things
sharply,
for
right?
me is that oftentimes I think people are a bit too averse to conflict. Like I'm not a big fan of every trader being like a friendly trader or something. Like
Yeah,
an
yeah,
Antac's job is to kill people and cause conflict. Maybe not murder bone, but they shouldn't just be sitting there doing nothing, because their job is to an extent to keep the round moving and to cause conflict. One of the things I've been seeing is one of the reasons I actually prefer often to play on other servers is simply because Browns tend to go on for a while and be kind of boring. There's a policy discussion up right now by I think Dezufer, which asks that some of the other game modes have higher probability chances, like Nuke Ops, Cult, and Revs and whatnot. And I'm for that. I discussed it with the Headmans and Headman Bus. I think Carl, you said you were for the changes that I was suggesting. Yeah, all right. I don't know about Twat on that, but hopefully we'll be increasing those. So that's kind of how I think about it.
Cool. That answers my question. I just have one more really quick one.
Sure.
Do you think Sybil will ever be delisted from the hub, or dissolved? Because I know it's like the low pop TG, but still, it's almost dead now.
It's funny. The server's culture and population shifts around every 6 months, as is. Sybil and Biggle were both the highest of the high pop, what, a year ago, Landon? I mean, not very long, just before the
Yeah.
Seth died.
Mm-hmm.
So, we all kind of are emotionally invested in certain servers. I know I came from Sybil and, I always loved it.
I mean, I'm a Sybilite, so.
Yeah. And I don't think there's any great push. Things might change. We might move names around, but I don't see Sybil disappearing, but don't worry about it too much would be my response.
Okay, cool. Thanks a lot, you guys.
Sure.
All right, cool.
Let's see. Well, that's an interesting question about Secret Extended. Feels like the current crop of admins are less likely to do big scale events. Not a complaint. They usually were just a pain. Accurate. But Secret Extended worked as an opportunity for them to go hog wild, which I see less. So it's real boring most of the time. Can we reduce frequency or encourage wackiness? Well, I certainly like the last part. Encouraging wackiness is always good. I think Secret Extended is, the odds of it occurring are in the single digits, right? On all servers.
I don't know exactly, but I'm pretty sure they're pretty darn low.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
not that common.
I think Manuel has it at like 3 right now, which I'm pretty sure is like or 3 or 2. I forget which is the highest.
Somewhere like that, yeah.
and that's pretty low already.
So, I don't know what we have to do to encourage wackiness, but consider it done.
Yeah. Let's see. There's often no admins on Manuel, like right now actually. Will anything be done to address this? What are your thoughts on MRP only bans? The big thing for that, in my opinion, is just getting more admins on the team. Again, one of the big ways I want to accomplish that is by moving admin applications to the forums, because it's kind of hard to scope out future admins without just playing a lot and looking around for people who were good, and you're
Yeah.
gonna miss people all the time. No matter what. So admin applications, I think, are a good way to go about that, and they aren't the most effective that they could be at the moment.
Yeah, and
So
we
that's the
definitely
main
could
way.
use more manual specific, or people admins that have a stronger interest in playing on Manuel and understand the culture of it a little better.
To answer your second part, what are your thoughts on MRP only bans? I really like the current system where it's ban on all servers. If you break the rules, you break the rules. You don't just get to go on like Manuel and grief for fun and get an MRP only ban and go back to playing on Bagel, for example.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you completely. I mean, if you're getting boinked because of a genuine misunderstanding between the differences between the rules of Manuel, if you're honest and explain yourself to the admin, you're probably not going to get banned, right, on Manuel.
Mhm.
I don't see the need for the extra administrative overhead of having two separate, sets of bans. And like you said, if you're breaking the rules severely and in bad faith on one, you're going to do the same on the other. So,
All right, let's see. So, this is apparently a question asked by Urso from Boba Brown. Related to Odo's question, as you mentioned, admins who are inactive in game and on Discord generally doing nothing may be handled on a case-by-case basis. How do you feel about admins who remain somewhat active in Discord but completely inactive in game? Honestly, they can still provide some input. I'm not as keen on deadminning them. Honestly, I don't see it as like a massive issue if they're on the team. It's not like they're an active detriment for being on the team and being inactive. Honestly,
yeah, if we had a bunch
obviously,
of
if it's bad enough, then you remove them. But if they're still active on the Discord, I'm more hesitant to remove them.
absolutely.
Yeah, they can still provide input and that kind of thing on various topics.
Yeah, it's really useful to be able someone who's actively adminning right now. The more experienced and conversational people that you have in the admin channels to advise you, provide help, confused about something, the better. So if an admin's active in Discord, they're active in my mind. We don't have a problem with, in-game inactive admins causing problems. We just don't. So I don't see any reason to get.
Here's a question from Haiti. Should we make admins pass a test or training to be able to administrate on Manuel? Admins who are used to the other servers are going to disagree and dilute the MRP environment with their LRP habits. I don't think there really should be a separate test. I mean, administrating as a concept is pretty universal. I mean, you obviously have to change how you look at things, but it's not as if it's like extremely difficult, to be honest. So I generally trust, like, if they don't want to administrate there or don't feel comfortable, they don't have to. And they can always ask questions, just like when they start out administrating, people ask a lot of questions because there's a lot of edge cases and a lot of confusing situations. And the same is probably true if somebody's going to be adminning on a medium RP server. If there's things they're not familiar with, they can just ask questions and learn and look at the rules. So yeah, that's kind of my response to that.
Yeah.
Solid. Let's see.
Let's see here. Our thoughts about the psychologist role.
Honestly, I haven't seen much about it, so I don't really know.
Yeah, same. I mean, it seems like a neat idea. I'm all for, letting it play out, see what people do with it.
Most I've seen it is some psychologist saying the cure to fear of assistance or something was getting shocked by wires. I don't know how true that was. I was a medical doctor at the time. It was pretty funny. So that's the extent of my interaction. Let's see. Is anything going to be done about meta groups? I'm not sure what you mean. I mean, it's if it's giving you an unfair in-character advantage, that's against the rules. But otherwise, like whatever, man, people can be friends. I don't really care.
Yeah, what are we gonna do? Like break? Like you can't talk.
Ah,
to that
you
guy
can't be friends
Like,
anymore. Busted. Like I don't
Right.
really care as long as like you aren't helping your antag friends be an antag or something like that.
right. Let's see, what else do we have going? Anybody else want to hop on voice, ask a question?
Sticky.
Sticky's drunk, so we're gonna hold off for.
Oh, is he actually drunk?
Well, actually, hold on. So before we end it, though, we should let him on.
All right. Let's see here. More coming through. Med bay becomes not real when bodies come in from the murder boners, or they get a patient that is hard.
That sounds like a good
Five.
question.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see here.
Oh god. This looks like a very specific ruling question from Sir Knight Arcane. Alright, so this is a question that's gone back and forth several times now. In game, if you use a wizard's soul shard on a target and then polymorph them without asking that person, that could be considered as being polymorphed against the target's will. However, soul shard flavor text is that you remain loyal to that person who sharded you. I've seen admin rulings now in both directions that you either are or are not enslaved by the person who sharded you. On the one hand, you can easily create an army of monsters with very little effort. Can we get an official ruling on this from Headmans? That sounds like something we'll have to deliberate on and talk about. I'm
Yeah.
not sure I can just give you a straight up answer right now, but I will copy paste that into the
Yeah, it's a good question.
Headman channel for right now, just so I don't forget about it. So
I mean, I would be inclined to think of it in the same way as someone creates a golem, or creating boards.
yeah, that's probably I'm in car with that. Probably is my reactionary response to it. But well,
that's
again,
not
we
a-
can deliberate on it and talk
Yeah.
about it.
not a definitive statement. Okay, sorry. Ominous Grace is still on 6-hour mute. Sorry, I'm not sure why that's still an issue. But they did PM me a question. Can we get a signal technician job like they have on Yogs? Well, when you code it, dude, it's prudent to have a dedicated crew member to watch over telecoms. I remember playing that role when I was over there once or twice. I found it fun. I can't. Not any strong objections, but again, I think that's a code question, right? Turbo is on a 6-hour cooldown too. He wanted me to ask, are you less likely to accept people who are big or small community figures as admins? That doesn't really matter to me very much, man. It's just a question of like, are you someone who makes good choices in game? Are you a helpful person?
Yeah, literally, how I've decided in the past who I want to candidate is I literally just observe them for a few rounds, see how they play, see how they interact with people in OOC, NC, and look at their notes, and I kind of make a decision based off that, and then bring it up to the other admins and see what they say. Doesn't really matter how much clout you have or whatever. Like, that's not really a factor.
No. Let's see here. How goes the popularity of TG? Are there more players, or does it decrease? I haven't seen specific numbers in the last couple of weeks, but I think we're quite healthy. At High Pop Times, what was it, yesterday or the day before, we had 200 people across 5 servers. I mean,
we'll come back to that question, and I'll have graphs.
All right, excellent. Let's see. What else do we have going here?
All of our head admins are under 5 foot tall, so we don't discriminate on size.
That's not true at all, Oranges. Go back to your hobbit hole. Here's a question by Pigs in Space. Is fantasy racism allowed in the Manuel server? Lizardmen, Plasma, etc. Is there a reasonable limit to how antagonizing to crew members your character does not like? I'd say, I guess, it's allowed, but like, don't go overboard with it. If it gets to the point where you're self-antagging and using racism as an excuse to self-antag, then it's kind of dumb. Or if you're using it to constantly get a reaction out of people to justify escalation conflicts with them, It's the same with a lot of things. Just it depends on the severity and the how often it happens. I would say.
Yeah, like the question is the answer, right? Like reasonable limit.
Yeah,
So like
reasonable limit.
the question you need to ask yourself in this and so many other things is like, am I ruining or severely affecting the other player's round? Like, is this role play enhancing or detracting, right? So
Mhm.
if you have to, and again, if you have to ask, it's probably not the right answer, right? So just try to be reasonable.
Let's see. Here's a question from Avlar. So many people are afraid of doing things because they're afraid of getting banned. Example, toxin serving as a ban honeypot, suicide bombing. Are there already concise agreements to such things? Yeah, this comes up. This is one of the most common bans is people suicide bombing and getting other people killed. I mean, honestly, like, it's not that big of an issue, to be honest.
It really it isn't. I don't understand.
Just don't be really stupid. I mean, the rules are very clear on this. If you don't end the round with your bombing and it gets people killed or messes too much stuff up, you're gonna probably get noted or banned for it.
This goes for so many things. It's like,
Yeah.
do what you're gonna do, man. Do what you're comfortable with, but understand the consequences and take your licks when they come. It's that simple. If you're gonna roll the dice and it doesn't work out, you got to go into it with open eyes, right?
Yeah. Let's see. Here's another question from Ursa. Fico wanted me to ask, what is the ruling on Wizard's ghost possession mobs? Are they aligned with the Wizard since they are from his event? Are they crew aligned? Can they kill anyone at all? Can they kill everyone since they are vengeful ghosts? I'm not too familiar with that, to be honest. It sounds like they'd more be in the realm if they're from some kind of event or something. It sounds like they'd be more in the realm of slaughter demons, where they aren't really aligned with anybody and they can do as they please. Honestly, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about the particular mechanics of it. So it sounds more like they're just solo antags that can just fuck stuff up. But I'll have to look further into it again. I'll copy that into Headman Bus, and we'll talk about that later and give a solid ruling at some point on that. Okay. Code question. Not gonna answer that.
Yeah, Darko, that's a code question. Submit a PR, man.
Keep those code questions coming.
Just PM your code questions to Oranges, but be sure to ask, can I ask a question first? Let's see here. All right, Fernet, this is complicated. We'll copy and paste this one. We'll give it some real thought. And we'll see if we can come up with a definitive answer for you. How's that sound? How do I feel about genetics being moved completely to science rather than being
code question, like a mapping?
It is.
Yeah. That's up to Oranges, I guess. Oranges, you want to host a coding community meeting, my friend?
I thought that's what we were doing.
Oh shit!
Am I in the wrong room? I've come to the wrong room.
Oh yeah, you get out of here.
Sorry.
Awkward.
Let's see. I already can drones come back to Manuel alone with policy restrictions? I talked about drones earlier. If they're going to come back, I probably want them to come back on all servers. I don't think it's just going to be a Manuel thing.
Yeah.
Again, I talked about that PR, which was going to make a bunch of code changes that I liked that would probably fix most of the administrative issues they produced in the past. Let's see. Is Manuel ever getting an EU server? Oh yeah, that was talked about. I'm a fan of it. Honestly.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So there we go.
So recently, the Patreon hit a goal to upgrade Terry's server to one pretty equivalent to what the US server is running.
Oh, fantastic.
And so, when I get around to that, Manual will have some more servers, and some other things will happen.
Very cool.
Let's see. Another question from Urso. Is the command and security roles ever getting a time requirement raise? It's often the case where new players start playing high power positions and can end up affecting rounds in a negative way more often than positive. I'm not sure what it is right now, to be honest, so I'm
I
not sure
can't
if I can
remember.
answer that question too well.
That only got implemented like what, 6 months ago? Before it was just kind of a free for all. Anybody could hop on, right? Yeah, if anyone knows what the actual limits are, please type them into the chat right now. 12 hours.
12 hours.
I wouldn't be against raising it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not totally
1,000
against the idea.
hours. You have to have a skill cape to be a head of security.
Yeah, I'd be potentially interested in that. I mean,
Is that a config thing or a code thing? I can't
I'm
remember.
pretty sure it's a config thing, isn't it?
Okay.
There's a
pretty sure it's a
config
conflict.
override for just the head roles, but there's an in-depth code-related system that
Mhm.
like looks at your time in that particular department, and to change any of that would be a code change. But
Okay.
we could try to
Should-
change that to be
You should make
configured.
that conflict.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We'll look into that anyways.
Yeah, I'll put that on the list. I'm definitely open to that idea.
See, this is a question from Alex Nevada. Do you consider changing the policy on metacomming when it comes to teaching new people? I'm talking about the situation when an experienced player talks to the total noob to just introduce them to the round and tells the admin that he's doing it. Honestly, my personal view on it is it's still so hard to kind of keep a track of and like determine who's metacomming. Like that's why metacomming bans are so harsh, is because it's so hard to catch.
Yeah.
So I'd really rather not. I mean, I've taught friends, I've taught them on a private server, like, and talk to them in Discord how to play it, and then like you can still like hang out with them in game and like teach them without being in a Discord call. Like you're allowed to oh, one second.
Well, as I was saying, yeah. I mean, it's we really want you, if you're going to be teaching a friend, if you're communicating with a friend, to use IC methods, full stop, because it's just too hard. And it's always a good idea, especially if you're playing at the same place, if you're on the same IP or anything. Please, please, help and let us know. It lets us know that everything's okay. All right. It looks like Landon's dead. So let's see if we can move on here. Let's see. Has the administration decided on a name for the event hall? Disregard this question if it's another French-sounding name. I might have to step away from that. I'm like weirdly emotionally involved with the name event hall. If we do change it, it's got to be it's got to be another Faulty Towers theme.
I would just keep event hall, honestly. I like that.
Yeah, I like it. But yeah, if we're gonna name it anything. Who's the waitress on Faulty Towers? Is it Polly? I can't remember. Wiki Faulty Towers.
So an idea I had was to remove the whole EU different names and just make a EU server for like all the ones. So basically kill off Terry and have like Bagel EU, Manuel EU, Civil EU. And then we could literally have like a low pop, a hub server, a normal server, and a low roleplay server for EU.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What a terrible idea.
I mean, we might.
Wait, why do you want to name them all the same? Why don't you just call them Server 1, Server 2? I like them different names. Gives them
Kinda
a
like Terry.
feeling.
I like the Terran. Yeah, they got I'm rather invested in all the server names at
It
this
means you
point.
can get emotionally attached to them and then
Exactly.
argue with other people.
All right, then Event Hall EU needs a proper name.
Polly.
Yeah, sure.
I mean,
why
that
not?
does conflict with the bird a little bit, but we're kind of running out of characters, right?
And we need more feminine names too. We're not being very gender balanced.
We are not actually running out of names because we could just dip into all the one-time characters, and there's a whole list on Wikipedia.
It's true. see here. When's the hierarchy server and the shipments that go with the hierarchy servers? Any day now, I'm sure.
Let's see.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
Please.
It's for the host. When is he going to make the alt codebase server 2?
Soon, TM.
So out of curiosity, define alt codebase.
What do you mean? I don't know. It's been on the front page for like a year. We can run like Boomer Station or something.
There you now.
We'll make a better Boomer Station than Boomer
Oh,
Station.
God.
Yeah.
Finally catching up to those downstreams.
Zoomer station. Let's see.
Let's see. Jackrip would like to hop on voice. Let me see here. And he does not appear to. Oh, here we go. Help Spaghetti and May. You ready, Jackrip? Jackrip. Come on, dude.
Did he leave and rejoin?
You might have to. I don't know if he's actually. No, he's he's idle right now. So never mind. Moving on.
All right, let's see. Question by Test Merge. TTS Bliss. Thoughts on implement? Oh, is that him?
Nope.
Okay,
Not yet.
alright. Thoughts on implementing mentors? It's not high on my list that I'd like to of things I'd personally like to do. Like, if I can get to it, that'd be great. Personally, I'd like to see it basically be because honestly, if they can be a mentor, they can probably be an admin. I view it more as a admin who doesn't want to deal with like investigative help.
Appeals. Yeah.
Yeah, doesn't want to have to deal with all that. They can just take that role, or like retired admins who are like, I still want to help out, but I don't want to deal with ban appeals and helps and that kind of thing, and just answer simple questions. Then
If
I
you
could
wanna
see it
do
being
that,
useful in that regard.
You can just become a maintainer. Get all of the powers and none of the
Orange is hungry
responsibilities.
for more maintainers, more power.
Codermans. Yeah, it's not a big priority for me either. Oh yeah. Go right ahead.
Hey, so I was curious about the policy of people breaking into your department. For example, if I'm a chef and the assistant just walks over the desk, can I meat hook him? Can I kill him? And what if security comes in just to fuck about? Can I meat hook them? What's the escalation policy there?
Well, I deal with this on events a lot. And my guidance that I give to people, and they landing, you can jump in, twice you can jump in.
Mm-hmm.
Is like it's escalation, right? So especially if you're the cook, we give you close quarters cooking for a reason. If somebody comes in, feel free to slap them around and throw them out. But like, I get pretty shitty when people immediately like gib someone because they just walked into the kitchen. So it's again, context matters and the way they're behaving matters, but it's don't immediately jump to round removal just because somebody dark.
There's that fine boundary between round removal and then the meat hook, which just keeps a dead body, evasive, but not gone forever.
I mean, if they're effectively in there and no one can get to them, it's still effectively round removal.
Yeah, that's true.
It's the same thing like when if some asshole HOS walls you off into a 1x1 tile with with no tools, you're effectively removed from the round, right? Even though you're alive.
So generally, how I've always looked at it is how it's always been talked about amongst admins is basically throw them out the first time and tell them to stop, and then if they come back, you can fuck them up. Is kind of how I've been taught.
Yeah,
as a general thing. Let's see. Another question from Urso. Someone else asked, "Will sell?" Oh, go ahead.
Well, real quick, just one piece of advice I'd say for that sort of thing. I talk about it with other admins. Like, I apply every ban as though it's going to be appealed. I take screenshots. I really make sure I have my ducks in a row. So if you're killing and removing someone from the round, because they're pissing you off. Only do that as though you're going to get boinked. You know what I mean? Like prepare, like understand. Only do something like that, knowing that you're fully justified to do it. Does that make sense?
Definitely.
Cool.
I'm
So,
justified in everything I do.
Well, that helps.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else?
Nope.
I think it might be time to release the sticky.
Oh God.
Good Lord. All right. So let's see.
Is he
We'll
even
get
still
these-
here?
I'm not sure. Speak now or forever hold your peace, Sticky. He doesn't appear to be in the chat.
Urso asked about Silicon policy.
Okay. I'll read it
I
out.
missed it.
Let's
I'm
see.
sorry.
Let's see. He asked, will Silicon policy ever actually be reworked, and will it be different for Manuel if it ever does? This has been talked about for about 3 Headman terms, and it's never actually been properly addressed. Haven't put much thought into that, to be honest. Not something I thought about when I put up my election thread and all that. It's kind of a
Go ahead.
big bag to open. If you want to say anything, Carl.
No, I was just going to say, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it does seem that like a lot of the issues with Silicon policy are just the issues that are inherent to Asimov, right? So I'm not sure. I'm no expert. So if there are specific objections or things that you need, that you feel need to be addressed, please, let us know. Because it needs to be addressed for the last 3 head turns. I'm scratching my head. I'm not exactly sure what the issue is, other than people not generally liking silicons. All right.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that, Carl.
If there's a specific thing that you want, feel free to open a policy thread. If there's something, that's one thing that I do want to try to do better about for the rest of the term. I do want to pay more attention to the policy threads and engage in those conversations more. QM, and for the record, Quartermaster will never be a fucking head. Not one. No way.
QM will be ahead.
I could test. I might test merge that later though, because Fika made a PR for that, which I think is pretty based. So I might test merge that later. Let's see. Third question: how will the admin applications in forums work? Are they even confirmed? So I talked to you about that. I think you said you'd work on it. It's probably going to happen, is my impression so far.
What do you mean by confirmed? I'm sorry.
Yeah. He just asked if they're... Go ahead.
No, I just meant what he says, are they even confirmed? I'm not sure what that means.
I guess, are they going to be happen for like 100% certainty? I would say like probably 80 or 90% certainty. Like, as far as I know, Twat hasn't like objected to it yet or anything. And MSO seemed open to the idea, so...
I'm fine with it.
Oh, yeah, I have no problem.
So yeah, probably gonna happen. How will they work? They'll basically, how I want them to work, and I think they'll work to some degree, is that they'll be somewhat private to where only people who have access to the forums, like admin trainers, and the poster will be able to view the posters thread. So you won't be able to just view every single admin application that goes in. Only like the original poster and any admin trainer who wants to look at it can actually see that.
Okay, Sticky.
What? No.
Hey, there we go.
What am I doing here?
You want to ask questions then?
What the? That was like an hour ago.
Yeah, it's a long line, man.
Okay. One a minute. I had them written down somewhere, and we'll...
Oh God, they're written down.
No, they're fine. They were about manual. Hang on.
I'm not the expert, but I'll do my best.
Yeah. Yes. Role playing, good. Not role playing, bad. It was something like that. No, I remember now. Okay. So, I've been running a lot of events today.
Don't fuck it up, man.
I'm trying
You
to
really built this up.
Okay, I didn't build shit up. I was ready to go, and then I was okay. Right. So, role playing Here's my problem. Okay, so on manual, you've got everyone's trying to aim for like some kind of medium role play, right? But the problem is, we have an issue that hasn't really come up before, which is that if you're bad at role play, it ruins role playing for other people, and some people are just shit at it, and they're not going to be able to do it properly because some people are too dumb to do it properly. And I've seen some people on manual who I'm sure want to play, and they just can't do it properly. So I'm just wondering what you do about that. Like, I guess you could like maybe educate them, but there are some idiots and they can't do the thing properly. So do you just kind of let them there and allow the RP to be weakened as a result, or do you give them like RP only, manual only bans, or like what's the process there, right? Because they're going to keep fucking up and breaking the RP rules, and it's not because they're dicks. It's because it's a higher barrier to entry than anything else on our other servers. So that's going to be the problem. So my question is, how do you deal with that? Do you think that there should be like manual only bans specifically for this, like a kind of your shit at RP blacklist, or do you just let them kind of weaken the RP on the server? I don't have a super high RP standard. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that like some people just can't really do it very well. What the fuck do you do?
Honest, I kind of need an example specifically. But,
sure. So you've got, man, I've seen so many examples, and yet none of them come to mind now. So you've just got the kind of people who are like, they can't grasp the real point of like, right? The idea, I think the fundamental thing for RP is like it's the opposite of play to win, right? The other servers, they kind of encourage this slight kind of play to win mentality. Antags want to be successful. On manual, you've got the idea is you should be willing to kind of die, or rather not do the optimal thing to generate a better story. I think that's kind of a nice definition that I can work around. And I think that it makes sense to kind of frame the okay, so hang on, sorry.
Well, that definition is how I kind of look at player maturity generally, right? Like,
yes,
an experienced player gets that.
Right, but if you look at our experienced players, a lot of them don't do that. I played for 5 years, and I was still fucking murder boning with a knee sword and Evo because I'm a cunt. So clearly, player maturity, like it's nice, and it's something that's it is going on because I'm not able to make my question proper. So what my point is there a minimum standard of entry for like being able to play on manual to keep the RP to like a reasonable standard, or are we going to end up kind of slippery sloping down a little bit because we're willing to take in these people who can't do it properly?
I don't know how you solve that problem administratively. You know, I mean, I think
that's
it's more
why
of
I'm asking you. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm short of test, or like I'm not. You know, I get a bad feeling thinking about like trying to keep it to some sort of exclusive club.
Yeah. No, I definitely wouldn't want that. I like the fact that anyone can just kind of come in and fuck about, figure it out.
All the time.
I would say that
It was kind of
I don't want to ban
hypocritical to be
people.
like,
I don't
we
really want to
shouldn't
ban
power
people
game
for
now.
that. Like,
what's hypocritical?
Sticky used to power game all the time.
I literally used the fact.
Now that he's apparently learned to do better, he's like,
What?
we should deny everybody else the ability to learn to do better.
No, Oranges, shut up, listen. First of all,
I'm sorry, but that's super hypocritical.
I don't care if it's hypocritical. I literally
Clearly.
used my hypocrisy in my fucking example. I said I was a cunt like 2 years ago. It's fine. And I'm not saying that. I'm not even saying I got better. I'm still a cunt, right? I don't care.
If we banned you 2 years ago, you wouldn't be in the place that you are now.
Agreed. And if you died 2 years ago, you wouldn't be here. What's your fucking point?
all right. Anyways, I'll try to answer this the best I can.
Thank you.
My personal view on it is I really am hesitant to ban people because they don't fit into like some standard of RP. Like if they break the current rules we have, like about murder boning and that kind of thing, ban them. But like, that's such a really weird like thing to ask all admins to be looking for. This weird like, what's medium RP, what's not medium RP. I mean, I really don't want to step into that territory, and I'd rather keep it up to like the players who play the game. Because I see a lot of funny stuff happen. I try to and a lot of cool stuff happen. I try to make cool and funny stuff happen when I'm playing in the game. So basically, I don't really want to move that up, and I want to move on that, and I want to just kind of keep it up to the players to.
Okay, that sounds great. I'll be super quick with my follow-up, which is, if that is the direction you're going in, then you're not going to be able to rely on precedents. Like, and I don't really like precedents in general as like a basis for building the rules, because you end up with shitloads of rules that people will tiptoe around.
Rules lawyering is
exactly. I hate that shit. I know. So that I feel like that's been
Mhm.
kind of an increasing problem over the years. But how do you deal with the opposite side of that, where you've got these vague rulings that have to be case by case? Like, how do you approach that properly with as many admins as we have? They're all going to do things slightly differently. We already see the issue of different admins ruling in different ways and maybe not being tied into the.
A lot of that is just setting policy on stuff. To be honest,
it's just it's an unavoidable problem for the game.
Yeah, it really is unavoidable. Like some of it, a good deal of it is like the spirit of the rules. To be honest, but like we can't like ask every admin like know exactly what that means and that kind of thing. A lot of things will literally just be a case by case basis and edge cases, just because that's their inherent quality, that they are edge cases, and they'll come up as they come up, and we'll rule on them. So that's kind of my view.
Context is king, and good faith, bad faith, right? I mean, that's
Yeah,
the best we
kinda-
can do on that kind of edge stuff.
Yep.
Deeply unsatisfying, I know, but it's honest.
It's fine. I just wanted to hear your guys' take on it. I didn't really expect a perfect answer.
Mhm.
Cool.
Do you have any other questions then, Sticky? Oh, it looks like he muted, so I guess he doesn't.
No, I'm good.
All right, cool.
Cool.
So let's see. Got a question from I'm Sexy. Can we get some concrete rules for admin feedback posting? The only real policy for it is locked in the admin only board where players can't even see. I personally think meme/shitpost feedback is fine because it shows that the person leaving the shitpost doesn't have any serious issues with the admin, and that the admin is active enough to have been remembered by the shitposter.
Well, the only real policy. Well, I mean, go ahead.
I would say I think I know why you asked that question is because I deleted your feedback. I forgot whose thread it was, but I think it's cringe was the single word. Like if it's single word, like I'm kind of gonna delete that because it's kind of useless, and it's not like you're adding anything to a feedback thread by posting a single word. I mean, if people like an admin, like they probably already make them known without having to shitpost in someone's thread. Like it kind of depends. If it's like a bit more wordy and like that kind of thing, then I'm more willing to have it there. But like if you're just posting cringe on someone's feedback, I'm going to delete
Cringe
that.
is valid feedback.
I don't think so.
Cringe followed by elaboration is valid feedback.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's like it's funny. We just talked about the last question, talking about nuance and detail and context, right? But like certain things like this, and like IC and C, right? Agag, like it's so difficult to do things on a case by case basis, and to really understand the context of it, especially for something like this, that it's much easier for us just to have a flat rule, right? Like, don't post bullshit in feedback feds. Don't talk about the round at all in OOC. Like it's.
Yeah, in this case, it sounds like I think Fuzzy and I agree, and Twat disagrees about if cringe is valid feedback. So it's kind of where we stand. So I guess it's
just write more than one word. Come on.
Yeah, 2 versus 1 for now. So I guess that's our ruling with Twat disagreeing.
I would like to say I'm getting a couple messages from people who are still dealing with the 6-hour slow mode. Sorry about that. Feel free to PM your questions to me, and I'll read them out loud so that we can make sure to get to those. Or land anybody, but feel free to PM us with it. Let's see. Oh, I'm so sick of this question. What is your opinion on the WMD policy? I've seen players being banned when collateral damage happened, but their victims didn't have any objections to it. I don't think this happens. I think this gets brought up a hell of a lot more often than this happens, to be entirely honest with you. I don't see it as a real issue, and quite frankly, again, everything's context specific, but also it has a lot to do with players' history and how they're interacting. It's a case by case thing, but I don't see this as a real issue.
Mm-hmm.
You feel free to disagree.
Let's see.
I can honestly only think of one incident in which that happened.
Let's see. Lerner asks, do you believe there to be a damaging divide between admins, coders, and players? And if so, are there any ideas and plan to remedy this? I think people are always going to disagree and shitpost at each other. I mean, yeah. I personally think I'm on good terms with like everybody. Like I communicate with coders and ask them questions, and they respond to me and like ask me my opinions on things sometimes. I don't think that there's like a massive divide that's constantly damaging things. I think the situation is just about as it's always been, where some people shitpost and some people have issues, but I don't think it's like actively being a massive detriment, honestly.
Yeah,
it's mostly a non-issue in my eyes.
I think we have a very good relationship with the coders, but they might disagree, but I don't think so. Denton just said fuck Jannies, so maybe I'm mistaken.
Yeah, fuck Jannies is true.
Fuck Jannies, right? But I think a lot of how to put it, anyone perceiving a divide tends to misunderstand responsibilities are split, right? You know, code issue, the separation of the server and the code base is a real thing, and I can't tell you how often the coders get yelled at for stuff that we've done and how often we get yelled at about stuff that the coders have done.
Mm-hmm. So here we got another question from Sticky. How do we decide how antagonistic antags can be on Manuel? I had a near complaint earlier this week for not banning someone over a B grenade thrown 20 minutes into a round because they didn't RP first. Or is the line what's off limits? Can you ever mass bomb the station if you RP enough? How can we begin to make these decisions? I will say that's kind of can you ever mass bomb the station if you RP enough? Yes, but you need to talk with the admin first. It's going to depend. That's probably the that secret rule that never really gets brought up.
Yeah.
It is theoretically possible, but you need to try hard to like make it happen, kind of deal. Probably just talk to the admin and make sure you're on the same page in that situation. As far as the B grenade, look, you don't have to always talk to someone to like roleplay well. The scary man and mate who like is terrifying the station like a nightmare is still to an extent roleplay. Like I've had a situation where like people have been upset that an Ashwalker doesn't talk to a miner first before they attack them. Like it's an Ashwalker. Their role is to defend their nest. You don't have to talk to the miner before killing them. That's
an Ashwalker attacking a miner is roleplay. Like quite frankly,
like you don't always have to talk to the person before you mess them up. Like sometimes it's helps and it's good for roleplay, but it's not like required or anything.
Yeah, I mean generally, and I this is a dangerous thing to say, but the more interesting, the more creative, the more effort you're putting into role playing and making things interesting and more fun for other players, the more you can get away with. And that goes whether it's Manuel or any of our other servers. But you really got to be sure that you're improving the round of other people and not just making it fun for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. I'm getting a couple of questions here. We kind of just, one from Blurbo, we kind of just tackled. What do you think of the divide between different people's ideas for the game, such as coders' ideas compared to coders or admins? When we kind of went over that a moment ago, but I don't think that there's a major problem there. The maintainers and oranges and the rest of the team decide what gets merged, and we apply policy. That's about it. Yeah, I don't think there's a major divide there, quite frankly. Am I always super delighted with the things that get merged and the changes that get made? No, but I will also say, experience playing this, whether as an admin or just as a player, quickly teach you that if you wait a week and let things settle down and you get used to the change, they're usually right, or at least they're making things more interesting, right? Let's see here. He is asking me a question. What do you think about the size of the admin team right now? Too many, too few? I don't have a problem with the size of the admin team, but I would like to see a little more activity because, I mean, who doesn't, right? But I don't, we're not going to start enforcing, hours or forcing people to work. It's a volunteer job. Better to have too few well-qualified admins than a whole bunch of crummies.
See, a question from Bu. Have you ever considered a privilege for psychologists to do a specific thing, like putting minor troublemakers in straitjackets? As of now, people seem to think they don't do anything. I'm not
a week old. I mean,
I'm not sure what they currently do, but like, I wouldn't like. It sounds more like of the in-character thing to determine like if somebody's. I've had people like being annoying and like breaking a bunch of windows in medical, and I've straitjacketed them before. Like that's not strictly a psychologist thing that they're allowed to do. Like if someone's being a prick and being a troublemaker, like you can respond to that and like do something like that. So I'm not sure if that like needs a specific policy.
They do very little right now.
What do they do actually? I don't even know what
Well,
they do.
they don't have any specific mechanics.
So
they're
they're
just trialing them in the game.
pretty much
and then we're
like strictly
thinking
a
about
roleplay rule then.
yeah, like adding stuff relating to mood and sanity and things like that.
Well, they'll need to develop in that way, I hope. But as far as your question view, it sounds like something that's determined more by in-character context and like that kind of thing, rather than needing a specific policy. Here's from question from Leppy Cat. What do you feel about solo antags on Dynamic? Rushing to join a team antag without being forced like a normal person would be. Basically gaining more powers without really losing anything. I don't like it. That's my first response. It feels really gamey and really against the spirit of the game. And personally, I would be for removing that specific ability for them to do on Dynamic if it's like become this big of an issue, as it seems to be.
Yeah, I don't want to make too many definitive statements. Yeah. We did bring this up either yesterday or the day before.
Mm-hmm.
It started to kind of talk about it casually. We're going to kick it around a little bit, but I'm of two minds about it personally. One is that like I like that lone antags can do whatever they want, but that action specifically is pretty shitty. And my first reaction to it is to not like it at all. But I don't know. I'm gonna sleep on it. We're gonna keep talking about it. We'll see if we can come to a decision about
it. All right. Question from Alex Nevada. There was a shitstorm about banning gamer words on forums. As that thread went nowhere, both sides agreed that there should be a poll on the server. Any news about that? Personally, I don't really want to open that can of worms right now. It's not really something that I feel like is a massive issue. I'd rather focus on the things that I talked about earlier, like policy and MRP policy and admin applications. That's my view. That not something I want to tackle right now.
I understand the irony of what the sentence I'm about to utter, but like, just have some fucking manners, people. Come on. Like, why do you have to be assholes about everything all the time? Just, I'm not leaping into the job of policing speech. Please be reasonable. That's all I can ask.
Question from Florin. What about the idea to enforce time zone slots for admins and make them be online then? Working shifts? No. That is my response is no way.
What was that? Let me see.
Pretty sure it's a joke question anyways.
Working shifts? Yeah, no.
Yeah, no way.
Fuck you, pay me.
Pretty much. Question from Space. What is your guys' policy on having maps on the server that aren't necessarily supported by the code. What do you mean? Is this? It sounds kind of like a coding question, but like, what do you mean supported by the code base?
Unofficial maps that aren't in the GitHub, which I think we can technically
Oh.
do.
I guess. I see.
We were working on a way to do that so that you could have a map that wasn't necessarily in the code base and compiling normally, but it never got finished, and it required changes to TGS, so it just never got done. So you'd have to like change the repo on the server to get a map in, or just load one at round start using admin verbs.
Okay. What would forgive me? What would the purpose of having maps that aren't in the code base be? Like in rotation? Is that what people are asking? I'm confused.
There's a higher bar for having them in the code base, and they want to keep it to a smaller number of maps. And so I guess people want to have the idea of having like community maps, kind of like unofficial maps on a tier 2 server or whatever. I don't think it'll ever work because of how tied the game code to the maps can be, and how minor changes can break maps, and how annoying they are to fix.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's the response to that then. Solid. Let's see.
Oh, cool. Update unique monthly C keys. Well, one assumes that big jump is the Seth tag, right? Well, it seems like we're staying fairly consistent. MSO just posted that in the discussion channel.
Cool. Let's see. Ooh, here's a question. Urso asking on behalf of Boba Brown, how do you feel the creation of Discord moderators has impacted the server? Do you see it as a beneficial role? Do you feel anything should be changed about this role? So my view on it, I'm not sure exactly how I feel about it. There's some benefits, but some things I don't like about it. Currently, I'm not the biggest fan of the Warren system because I honestly don't think it works. I'd rather all admins just be able to know people on the Discord to keep track of things. That's how I would like it personally.
I'll say that I hate the whole thing. I wish we would get rid of it.
All right. Well, there's Twat's opinion. So I have mixed views on it. I would like to give, in general, admins not the ability to have the ban roll, but the ability to note people to keep tracks, like if they're continuously abusing pings or something like that, just to keep track of it better. Because right now, the only ones who can do that are Discord moderators and above, like admins.
How many people do we have that with that role right now?
3, including me. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have a very strong opinion about it. I think that we obviously need to be able to enforce things by some means, but whether or not this is the solution, I don't know.
We'll probably discuss it and bust at some point.
Yeah.
Let's see. Will admin applications still be up while MSO makes form applications / what's the ETA on the transition? Yeah, they're still up there. They still exist. But the thing is, they're so hard to navigate. I don't even look through them because it takes forever to get to the end of the list because you have to start at the beginning. So that's why I hate them.
Thanks.
Let's see. So they'll still be there, but they're probably still going to be ineffective.
So the advice would be wait until the new system's in place.
Yeah. Let's see. Ray Radbury asks, PRs have gone through to lower Kilo's crash rate. When will we see Kilo re-added to the rotation with the upcoming map vote? If the crash rate has been lowered due to PRs, or supposedly lowered at least, I'm open to re-adding it in.
Yeah.
I'll take a look at them, I guess, later today, and I'll bring it up. Let's see here.
I will just say.
Oh, Kenki wants the speaking role. Okay.
Well, or just was just gonna speak up.
I
Go
was
ahead.
just going to say that the widescreen is in the game. It's a config, so it's entirely in your sphere to answer that question
Oh,
from
all right.
a VLAR.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a config setting for widescreen, so you can enable it. Previously, it wasn't enabled, but you know, the decision was that people with widescreens would have an advantage
Let's see.
because they can see more.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
How many tiles will the widescreen go?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Fair enough.
I think it's like 2 times as many wide or something like that.
Cool. Yeah, it might be worth fiddling around with. I'm open to that idea.
Let's see.
Might just try it out on a couple servers. You know, asking OC ahead of time, see if people want to fiddle with it and get the reactions.
Yeah, I don't mind testing it out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Ooh, question by Mickey5. Do you feel that admin notes should ever expire, such as ones which are 2 years old? Yes, I do. A lot of the notes I give out, since actually Trot, I'm pretty sure it was part of our election thing too, to push more for notes with expiries. One thing I kind of agree with her on that, and I've made an effort to try to make more, at least minor notes and some medium severity notes expire, just because like I doubt an Ocnoke from a year ago is going to really have any relevance now. I mean, it shouldn't even have any relevance, to be honest. So I am open to that idea, and I would like to see it done, at least for a lot of the minor notes that are put on players. That's my view. You want to say
Don't
anything on that,
forget-
Carl?
Don't forget to let Kinky speak.
Oh yeah, Kinky. Let me find him.
Well, while you're looking, I don't know. I kind of like the way the system works now. To be entirely honest, you know, the fact that if you look at some of these notes, they start to fade after 6 months.
Okay. There we go. Very cool.
That sums it up right there.
Let's see. Can you contact CENTCOM for special shuttles like the Lighthouse shuttle? Special shuttle should be more common. You can. I mean, we have a shuttle
Totally try.
manipulator, so we can you can contact Central Command, and maybe they'll do it for you. Other than that, making special shuttles more common is going to be a code issue. But yeah, I mean, if you ask for it, it might happen.
It always helps, you know. Ask Central for things in a creative and fun way.
Mm-hmm.
Same story with prayers and all the rest.
Question from I'm Sexy. Hello. You may have noticed my remove box station poll on the forums. Are there any plans currently to indefinitely remove it until at least the power issues are solved? If you were to remove it, would you wait for more than just the power issues to be solved? Such as box stations outdated as fuck med, no crew monitor consoles, tiny ass sleeper area, nothing done with the free space giving by cloning removal, etc. I have been frustrated many times as an engineer trying to figure out what in the goddamn is wrong with box station.
Yeah.
Because the power does not fucking work half the time. Most of the time, actually, it makes me want to pull my hair out. I'm for removing it right now if it's still being an issue. Honestly,
I don't have a problem. I mean, there's a pretty active thread under spreading and mapping right now of people working on revamping the map.
Yeah, but should it be removed until they do that, or because it's still an issue?
How long do we have left in the poll?
Don't know.
No,
I ran it for an entire month. It's a long time.
I'm open to it. I love box, but I mean, if there's an overwhelming sentiment that it should be removed until it's fixed, I won't stand in its way. I've only ever gotten one response when I asked for an ERT in a rev round, and they said all the ERTs were getting pizza.
I like to send corgi ERTs sometimes. They're my favorite
Oh,
ones.
nice. Boxes, Soul, you're absolutely right.
Gogo the Pogo Stick asks, back to the solo Antag thing, wouldn't that kind of make sense to do if you're a syndicate trader that wants to destroy the station? If you hate Nanotrasin, why wouldn't you assist those who plan to do it? The thing is, from what I've heard, my impressions is that it's very much just an walk up to Colt, say, Unga, make me Colt. It's pretty stupid. I don't like it. Like, and the fact that it happens so often, I think it's become, it wasn't an issue before, it's become an issue, it should be dealt with now, is how I feel about it.
Yeah, we'll kick it around. And we're going for 90 minutes. Why don't we take a few more and then we'll see where we are.
Yeah, sounds good.
Let's see here. Anyone else want to hop on mic and ask a question? Speak now or forever hold your peace. What is my favorite TG copy? Probably the Jason Gibson one. I was there when it happened. And seeing it always makes me laugh.
You want an explanation on what happened to the East Coast servers? When we were upgrading the server to a newer version of an Intel CPU, it was only available on the West Coast. So the choice was wait like 9 months or move so that we have more capacity, and we chose to move.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, there's a crazy chip shortage going on right now, and I'm sure the pandemic has not helped that.
If you donate $150 a month, we can give you an East Coast server.
There you go. Yeah, we're having all sorts of trouble buying stuff.
Rosie says this question isn't answered. Community. What is your question, Rosie? I don't know what it is.
222 being server distribution, I think. What was it, like 2 MRP, 2 EU, 2 US?
No, it's 1 MRP, 1 high pop, and 1 low pop server in each region.
Gotcha.
So you end up with 2.
Gotcha.
Which is kind of how it ends up anyway. Although Terry gets pretty high pop these days.
Pretty sure MSO said pretty much an MSO TM on that.
Yeah.
So he's working on it, probably, hopefully. I wouldn't give a specific date, but soon TM on that. Thanks for having this meeting and answering all the questions. When's the next one? Don't know. We'll figure that out.
Yeah,
definitely.
If it becomes necessary.
Let's see. Thoughts on using gamer words in general? Personally, I don't really use them. I don't like them, but like, I don't really care that much if people use them. Like, I'm not going to raise a stink generally, unless specific context situations. But like, whatever. I don't care. People do.
I don't really understand the impulse to. I don't understand why people are so delighted about being the largest asshole possible. Personally, but again, manners. Be reasonable, please. Let's see. Well, I don't know.
Will the Headman rulings on no foreign languages allowed be applied to the Discord? That's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't really come up as an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really think that's the issue.
It's not a huge problem, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
I say that next week there'll be, 3 guys metacoming in Chinese and discussion chat. We'll see. All right. Well, I'm not seeing any big questions we missed or any last words anyone wants to say.
What's your favorites What's your favorite Linux distro?
I don't know anything about Linux, Oranges. I use Windows 10. I don't like it. I prefer Windows 7, but I use Windows 10.
Debian probably, but I'm inexperienced. I'm a Windows admin.
Well, Carl, I guess that looks to be about it. Then.
Gentoo for me.
Oh.
I need to move all of TG to Gentoo.
Nice.
I guess we're about wrap things up because I think that's probably.
Yeah, sounds good to me. Thank you guys for joining us. This was actually really interesting and fun. I was a bit nervous about it, but it's been really enjoyable. Some really good questions, and we've got a fair bit to talk about and think about and try to come to a conclusion for you guys.
Thanks everybody for hopping on in.
Thank you much. We'll talk to you next time.
And as always, smoke weed every day.
So.
Okay guys, I am going to ICOC for the first time because the engineers are fucking retarded. They completely and utterly fucked up the SM and I fixed all their fucking mess. Those niggers.
We can talk!
The one that
Yeah,
sabotaged
guys,
the SM comes and whips his fucking ladder dick out. It says he saved the SM, a fucking nigger. He is then the big old Hitler nigger pussy says that we have to set the vents TO fucking 50k. No, I am fucking done. I am never rolling hippie engineer again. Fucking never.
What the fuck? Hey.
Bruh.
Listen here, bro. Okay. Guys, listen.
There we go.
You compliment cats. That means you want to marry one, right?
Hey, Citrus.
If you really want to
Hello,
genuinely
Citrus?
love a cat girl and
Yeah,
you
no, I
want to make the cat
Citrus, when are you gonna host more Left 4 Dead?
Yeah, I turned on. Everyone can talk now. You just need to rejoin.
Don't tell them that.
You guys speak.
I'm a trained and monkey worker and the top joker in the entire Crown Planet Armed Force for nothing.
Who the fuck are you?
Who the fuck are you?
Just a fuck.
What are those?
Hey yo, real talk, we should bring back the Taco Bell and
Oh, let's play two Tower That would be so funny, haha.
Dude, like, what if as a prank we just deleted all the...
Why don't we just ERP in dorms? As you know,
I slowly start to take off my clothing. I reveal my 18-inch coat.
I can't believe I finished that entire cup punch and didn't even
Come on, man.
Cat girl,
4
can
inches,
you
Instead of
4
please-
inches is
being
the
on a
average.
public server, you just made up...
Miss Cat Girl, can you please spit into my mouth?
4 inches is the average. Come on, guys. Come on, guys, right? 4 inches average? Yes, right, guys?
Please, can somebody please spit
Yeah,
into
for
my
a
mouth?
person in the Netherlands. Please table with cat girls. It would make the game a lot better if you could just add cat girls instead of zooming into the mob.
How old are you? No! Wait, bait.
Bait? Hello? Man?
That's not a big get on blue.
Executive autistic fucking admins on these SS-13 as they drown in decision making and responsibility. Or hand out permabans for next to nothing.
Yeah, you're getting
Permaban.
permabanned for that, retard.
Mr.
Admin,
when will we unban
Bindi
Joel, Mr. Admin? Change. Never mind that people have days. Never mind
Is that the real
that
Bernie
is a
Sanders?
fucking
When
long
will
time.
Alejandro Gillick get unbanned?
Bans. And then they
the
expect
official Headman ruling on orc
they can have more power, more decision making. Hoo-hoo, look at me, mommy. I
Guys,
get to decide
did you remember listen, did you remember to do your 5 daily prayers?
And let's be fucking
Did you or
absolutely
did you
real
not
here.
support
The only reason
unbanning
admins
Benny
want people
on
to
April 1st of 2020?
is to fucking ban a
What
reel
if we
so they can sell the
unbanned
members'
Bindi
emails
on
to
April
Joe,
like
1st?
Chinese
answer my
realtors or
question,
some
Joe.
shit.
I know you know, Joe. Just answer the question.
Why do you
I
sound like
mean,
Bernie
obviously
Sanders?
that's what's happening.
Why do you sound like Bernie Sanders?
In
Why do
conclusion,
you sound like Bernie
known that I
Sanders?
am the
Bernie
biggest
Sanders
fan
is a
of
man
all
like
time.
we can confirm.
Hey guys, settle down, okay?
Hey,
People
settle down,
should be
okay?
able to have more than one cat girl.
No.
I'm goofy.
You guys
Is it
are
okay
Settle
for a
down,
cat
okay?
girl to have a little salami?
No, no
And good
salami
also
is
please
allowed.
add tameable
Mr.
cat
Edmonds,
girls.
how
I
do you
think tameable cat girls will make the
how do you explain
because
that Mr. Stone one sounds the exact same as Goofball and they're
Shut the
not in the
fuck
voice
up, Bernie
chat at the exact same
Sanders.
time?
to
How do you
everyone
explain
so you don't have to kill
How
people
did
cause you
Bindi
ate
Joe
sound like you have a
die on
cat girl
Suicide Watch?
and attacks
Bernie,
new
I'm not
cat
giving
girl.
you
my
my
God,
money.
I
Shut
just
up.
Do it
connected
because
for
a cat
3
girl is
seconds.
very
It's
cool and
fucking
also
chaos.
lewd.
No one
If you doubt
should have
Catagirl, I doubt
25
her
waifus
sexuality
while
because a
some
cat girl
families
is
are
cool and
struggling
cat
just to
girls are
have
pretty
one.
nice.